Hi, everybody. I hope you all had a restful holidays. I hope you all ate all the goodies, started all the holidays, and then had the best time of your life with your families and whatnot. And I wish you all a happy new year, and I hope you reach all your goals for this new year. So I actually just got back from a walk. It's rather cold here. I don't know if you noticed, but my nose is a little red. But one thing that occurred to me while I was taking my quick walk, and the one thing that I thought of was how packed the gyms were going to be. And I thought of these New Year's resolutioners, and it's almost become a meme how, at the beginning of every year, the gyms are going to be packed with all these new people, new faces and whatever, only for them to quit within the next few months, and also only for them to come back at the beginning of next year and then reestablish their fitness goals, only for them to repeat the cycle and then leave again for the next couple months. And it's all funny and stuff, but one thing that really puzzled me was that, and although it may be a meme, but anybody who steps in the gym for the first time is nothing short of commendable, because it's a place that can be very, very intimidating, right? There's going to be people there that that already know what they're doing. It looks like they're focused, and when we see that, and when we see somebody that that looks like they know what they're doing, and it looks like they're competent in what they're doing, it tends to be very intimidating, especially when you're around their space, right? So all of a sudden, like, all the flaws that you've forgotten about yourself outside the gym, all of a sudden they just come to the surface. It's almost like they just involuntarily expose all your weaknesses and flaws and all the things that you need to work on yourself. Hence why I think it can really be nerve-wracking and intimidating, right? But in reality, that's actually not how gyms work. Most people that they're in very good shape, they're doing their own thing, and they're not gonna judge you for stepping in the gym and for starting, right? Like, if anything, it's always the people who don't do anything that will judge you, right? It's never the ones who've done their due diligence, because the probability of those people being in your position, whether you're out of shape or whatever, it's pretty high. Why else do you think are they still there grinding it out? It's because, they've probably they probably don't ever want to be in that position again where they're obese or whatever, or skinny or whatever, right? But the one thing that I really thought of was that, why is it that people quit within such short period of time, right? It's good that they're establishing goals in the beginning of the year, and it's a good New Year's resolution despite its memeness. But why is it that they quit? And I think it boils down to much of it, I would say, boils down to ego. Boils down to maybe just lack of information. I would say it also boils down to what would you say? It boils down to setting too broad and too vague and too big of a goal, meaning that most of them don't have, aside from being misinformed and whatnot, most of them don't want to aim low enough or start small. Which is fine, right? You have a goal that you want to achieve, but most of us fail to be realistic when it comes to setting up goals. When we set up like big fitness goals, I want to be slim to this level. But it's like, you also have to realize that you have to start small. You don't even have to, necessarily. You have to start small, but starting is a key word here, right? You have to start, but you have to start small, and you have to aim low. And there's a lot of reasons why, or there could be many arguments as to why people wouldn't want to start small. But I think one of the reasons why they don't want to do that was because I think they think they're too good to even start small, right? Oh, like, wow, why am I gonna start small? And by the way, what I mean by starting small is basically like, let's say you're 350 pounds obese, and you want to lose, I don't know, 120 something pounds, right? And while that's, a good goal to have, you have to divide those goals into smaller goals, because otherwise, like, you'll have no milestone. You have to have like sub goals within a bigger goal. You can't just, it's like this, right? Let's say you're like a boxer, and one of your goals is to fight. Like, it doesn't make sense for that new fighter to enter a fight like 6 weeks later. He hasn't fucking trained. So you have to gradually build up to it. So if you're 350 pounds, you want to start with maybe in the next month or a couple months, I want to lose 5 pounds within this, within 2 months. And then you just keep going. You just keep going. You just keep going, right? You just basically trust the process. You have to look at the overall picture to really see the results, right? It's because if you look too far ahead, there comes a point where it becomes too overwhelming, right? It's because, like, if you don't focus yourself, if you don't focus to, or if you don't commit well enough to losing those 5 pounds, you won't really appreciate those 5 pounds, because you'll say, oh crap, I've only lost 5 pounds. This diet must not be working, or what I'm doing is probably not working because I've only lost 5 pounds. Like, yeah, I mean, no shit. That's how you start. That's you take chunks, small chunks after chunks after chunks. You don't just take a big chunk out of it, right? And why do you think crash diets work? It's because, like, you lose all this weight and then you gain it back up. It's the same thing. Anything that you work towards with due diligence, and with anything that you obtain carefully, anything that requires patience, you're more likely to keep your results, right? Because the faster you go up, the faster you're also going to go down. It works the same way, right? So the longer you commit to those small little goals, the easier it'll be for you to sustain all those results. And that's just how it's always been, right? It goes parallel, right? So now, going back to the question, why do most people quit? It's because they don't start small enough. They don't, they're not humble enough to say, I'm going to start with this small goal, little by little. Just commit to it. Make it automatic, automatize it. Just shut up, just shut your brain and just commit to the work. I mean, it can't really be that complicated. The reason it's complicated is because most people complicate it, when in fact it doesn't have to be complicated. Why are you complicating it for no goddamn reason? Right? So, and that's why, most of them belong in the, or most of them end up in the New Year's resolution memes, because, like, yeah, they set up these goals and then they end up quitting. It's like, I understand there's other factors here, like being misinformed, being misguided, but, you could make a lot of excuse for that, right? Lots of excuses, but I would say otherwise, because, like, it's 2025 now. We have abundant information online, more information than when I first started, right? So, and it really all comes down to, how bad you really want it, right? So, because it's a hard thing to do. To be in good shape is a hard thing to do. It requires, discipline and mental fortitude, because the reality of things is that, like, you're not always going to have the motivation to get your ass off the bed to get in the gym, right? But, most of it comes down to having the mental fortitude and having the discipline and having to look at the bigger picture, right? Now, is it okay to feel lazy? Yeah, absolutely. But it's what you do with it, right? It's how you talk to yourself. It's how you convince yourself, right? So, and are there gonna be days where you succumb to those voices in your head in which say, you know what, just take a day off today? And you know what, there's really nothing wrong with that. There are going to be days in which you're going to choose to just stay home and say, screw it, I'm not even going to go today. But ultimately you just have to, you know, get back to it eventually, right? And I think also here's one thing that I just thought of. I think one of the reasons that, you know, it's so easy to quit was because as soon as you fail, and in this context, when I say fail, I mean when you, let's say, accidentally eat a candy or whatever, or accidentally skip a day off, you just sabotage the whole thing. You just like completely just disregard everything. Oh, I messed up, it's never gonna work, I'm such a failure. You gotta stop that. It's like, it's gonna happen. You're a human being. No perfect. There's no such thing as perfect human being. Even the hardest working people in this world, they have those too. They have those thoughts. They have days in which they fall off. Like nobody in this world is going to be perfect. You know, in case you didn't know that, nobody's perfect. You're gonna fall off the wagon. And what do you do when you fall off the wagon? Well, it's definitely not to just stay there and let the wagon just keep pushing. You have to get up, go get back in the wagon and say, okay, we're back. Just dust yourself off and get back on the wagon. It's really that. But you know, like I said, it can't be that complicated because we like to complicate things, you know. We like to engage in paralysis by analysis, you know, which I think is a real thing, because it's like we tend to overanalyze all these little things because we want our program or our diet to be so perfect, when in reality there's no such thing. You have to play with it, right? If let's say you approach it in a way that's like I wouldn't say experiment, but like in a playful manner, you'll be less likely to feel guilty, I would say, because it's more so like you're having fun, right? There's really no attachment to it. You know, it's like when you're playing, I don't know, soccer, basketball. It's like, yeah, you may lose points, but it's like, yeah, it's whatever, it's just for fun. Yeah, it's kind of like that. If you approach it like that, if you don't obviously take it seriously, but don't take it too seriously to the point where you start sabotaging yourself if you even fail, right? It's gonna happen. You're gonna fail. But what I would say to you is that, like, if you do fail, use that piece of failure as a piece of lesson, convert it into a piece of lesson, and then just move on. That's how it's gonna happen, right? The same thing for my fellow lifters there, or gym bros, or whatever you know you guys call yourself, right? You know, a lot of you can relate to this, but you're gonna have days in the gym where you don't feel so strong, or where you don't feel like the weight isn't budging, and that's okay. Better luck next time. The reality is that, like, progress is never going to be linear. It's, most of us would, you know, ideally would like to have a progress that looks like this on a piece of graph, like this, but the reality is that it's always going to be like this. It's going to peak, and then it's going to go down, and then maybe it'll flatten, and then it'll go up maybe, and then it'll flatten, and then you'll go back up, flatten, dip. But you know, that's why I said you gotta look at the bigger picture, because it's so easy to get caught up in those like small moments and then try to represent that as the big picture. Just as how it's easy it is for us to say, oh, yep, I messed up. The whole thing must be messed up. It's like, no, you gotta look at the bigger picture, because, like, you know, progress is like this, but there's still an upward trend there. It doesn't mean you're failing completely. It just means that you're gonna have, you know, days that you're not feeling too good, and you're gonna have days where you're feeling like you're Superman, or you're feeling super motivated. as well as, days where you're gonna be feeling just demotivated, right? I mean, it's normal. It's a normal human experience to feel motivated on some days and then demotivated on some days, but it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It just means that, like, oh, you must be having like a low mood day. It doesn't mean that you should stop what you're doing completely. It's okay to feel that way. Just hop onto it and then get back to it. Yeah, that's it. And I thought I would just I kind of went on a little bit of a rant here because, like, I'm kind of getting sick and tired of seeing all these memes all over social media, especially like around this time when it's New Year. People are trying to set goals or whatever, but I thought I'd give my insight as to how you could maybe approach your New Year's resolution, or how you could approach your new fitness goals in 2025. And I hope you take away something from this video. If you have any questions, just comment them down below, and I'll answer them down in the comments. Or maybe, if it's a complicated question, maybe I'll make a video about it, whatever. Anyways, have a good day. Bye. Like, subscribe.